Today we're going to be unboxing and checking out the OnePlus 12R, and yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. This is probably one of the most interesting phones of the year in my opinion. A lot of you guys might really like this phone, might consider it better than an old flagship. We're going to be doing some comparisons as well to see, but it's $499, for a brand new model. Which is pretty cool. So I think that's pretty cheap, and the specs on here are pretty impressive. So we know, like, one of the best old flagships, Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, it's $400 used. So if you spend another $100, you can get this. And of course, there's a lot of other flagship phones that are cheaper, but I just thought this was a very interesting phone to look at. All right, so we got the Never Settle. Really cool all red packaging here. Don't really see that. Pamphlets and stuff, a lot of pamphlets. Micro SIM card, a membership card. Is that OnePlus card? Okay. All right. Here's the phone itself. Let's get that out. Really nice looking device here. Looks like a gray color. Got matte finish on here as well, and we get the charger in the box, which I honestly wasn't expecting. Let's see what type of watt this is. This is a I have to look it up. 100-watt charger. Wow, this is a 100-watt charger. And then the classic OnePlus cable. It's pretty impressive. A pretty good unboxing experience, considering that this is a quote-unquote mid-range phone. It really feels like a flagship phone, just looking at the specs and just looking at the device here. So let's go ahead and just go over the hardware real quick here. Like I said, we got that matte textured finish on here. It's IP64, waterproof and dustproof as well. It's got an aluminum frame. This is a glass back as well, and looks like the screen is curved. We got our switch on here as well. See if we got any juice. So far, I'm really liking this. This feels like a pretty good deal for brand new for $499. Especially if they had like a trade-in deal or something going on, if you can get it a little bit cheaper. Alright, so let me boot this up, set it up, and then we'll come right back. Alright, so we got the phone all booted up here, and I want to go ahead and talk about this display because it is pretty nice. Kind of reminds me of the OnePlus 8. Here is super bright as well too. But yeah, we have a curved display on here, which I'm a big fan of the curved display. But what's really interesting is that this has the LTPO4 AMOLED display. It's 120 Hz HDR10 plus Dolby Vision, and then has a max brightness of 4500 nits peak brightness. It is a super bright display, even just as a regular screen brightness, just like indoors. This thing is pretty bright, so I can't wait to take it outdoors tomorrow when it's a little bit sunnier out and see if I can get this thing to hit max brightness. But that's absolutely insane. It looks like the resolution on here, it is 1264 by 2780 450 for the PPI, so basically 1080p plus. And yeah, it's a beautiful panel here, very smooth. Like I said, I'm a big fan of curved panels. This one does have a an aggressive curve. It's not like a minimal curve. It's an aggressive one. And yeah, I absolutely like it. If you need a reference and think about like the OnePlus 7 Pro and OnePlus 8. But yeah, so far the display on here is beautiful. Punch hole in the middle. Just a really nice, vibrant, bright display. Really awesome colors on here. So I really like it. Alright, so I do want to touch on Oxygen OS. This is Oxygen OS 14. And yeah, so I really like it. So far, it's pretty smooth. We have our Google Now page, and I really like it. It's very simple and reminds me of, kind of like the old Oxygen OS. The only thing I think I don't like is the icons, which I'm pretty sure you should be able to change on here. Yeah, you should be able to make them. Yeah, you can change them. Yeah, so yeah. So now that's fixed. But yeah, the Oxygen OS is actually fine now. So they've done quite a bit of refining here. I'm not sure if it does that swipe thing with the notifications where you can't swipe left. But yeah, so it's just really smooth, guys. Like I said, it really reminds me of like the OnePlus 7 days here. And yeah, very smooth, very simple. I like how everything's laid out as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go through this a little bit more in depth, but so far I was just going through it and I was like, oh, this actually is much better. I know a lot of people were hating Oxygen OS because I think they were merging with or they did merge with Oppo and they were doing like more Oppo stuff, but this looks fine. This is totally fine. Like I actually like the way it's set up. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about gaming. So again, this is running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model here. And let's go ahead and just see what kind of settings we're getting on PUBG here. I mean, this is a powerful phone though with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And yeah, we got 90 frames. We can play, HDR Extreme as well too. Yeah, the gaming experience, and so far I haven't had any type of heating problems. We are a tad bit warm right here, but it's not like it's it's barely warm, but it did start like to heat up a little bit when we're playing. When I opened PUBG, ran a couple benchmarks, but that's to be expected. But it's not hot by any means, so that's really good. Yeah, so I'm really impressed with this phone, guys. This is definitely a phone that we're going to compare to some older flagships. I mean, it's pretty impressive for this price point to be brand new. So gaming performance, just performance in general, has been really good on here. So I can't really nitpick at anything with this phone so far. I'm really liking everything about this phone. I think OnePlus is doing an excellent job so far. This really took me by surprise. When somebody mentioned it in the comments, I was like, okay, let me check this out. But so far, I'm actually pretty impressed. Performance wise is good, smooth Oxygen OS. The screen is really nice on here as well. All right, so I ran the Geekbench scores here. So this is the score that we get here. So you can see compared to other Galaxy phones here. So it looks like it's scoring again somewhere around the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. Yes, I'm not quite getting the scores with the 8 Gen 2 like we have on the S23. But I know that's for Galaxy, and I know they overclocked it, I think. Yeah, so the multi-core score, again, this one is doing fantastic actually here. Now this one is a little bit more on par with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. But so far, regardless, really good processor, really impressive. Yeah, I'm just super impressed, guys. So let's go ahead and actually check out the biometrics on here. I set it up, and it's an optical one, and what I like is that typically they would put it down here, but I like that they put it further up. It's smooth. It's not like the ultrasonic ones though, where it's like instant. You gotta apply a little bit of pressure to it, which is fine. You can use a face unlock as well too. All right, we got the speakers at max volume. Okay, so the speakers sound pretty good. They don't sound as clear as I would like. And what I mean is that they kind of sound like a little bit, it kind of has like a muffled sound to it. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a flagship speakers though, is what I'm trying to say. It's mostly this bottom speaker. Like I said, it's fine I think for most people, even if you block the bottom one. But yeah, it doesn't quite sound like a flagship speaker that you would be used to in a more premium phone. But nevertheless, still sounds pretty decent for the most part. All right, so I want to talk about the cameras here, and yeah, so you have a 15 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, then a 2 megapixel macro. It shoots in 4K 60, and then you have a 16 megapixel selfie cam that only shoots in 1080 30. All right, so basically, I'm going to run through the camera UI real quick here. You have a pro mode on here, of course, portrait mode, and then we have night mode, high res mode to shoot in the full 50, and then the macro mode on here as well, movie, long exposure, dual view, and that's pretty much it, the text scanner, all that stuff. As far as the image quality goes, I was pretty impressed with the image quality for the most part. I thought the pictures came out clear. We had good detail. Dynamic range was pretty good as well. You also had, I think the only thing I was kind of missing here was like the telephoto lens. I noticed that it didn't have one. And yeah, so you know your zoom shots are coming from the standard lens, basically cropped in, right? Which is fine. You know, at this price point, I know they had to cut corners somewhere, but just for still photography, I think this is still pretty decent. And yeah, I was pretty impressed with overall image quality. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. But like I said, if you do a lot of zoom shots and stuff like that, you know, of course, you're going to be missing a little bit of, you know, detail, and it's not going to be as good as something like, you know, an S21 Ultra or something like that that's going to give you really good zoom shots. Now, lastly, the battery life on here, from what I've seen, the battery life is pretty good, but I'm going to have to, like, you know, use it more. I've only been using it for today. And yeah, so I'm excited for that. But it's got a 5,500 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty big, which is crazy because the phone itself doesn't feel that heavy. But yeah, so it's 100-watt wired charging as well. There's no wireless charging on here, so if you're a fan of wireless charging, that's not going to be on here. But the 100-watt wired charging is absolutely insane. They're claiming that it goes from 1% to 100% in 26 minutes. So, you know, who needs wireless charging when you got some crazy charging speed like that? But yeah, so far, I really like this phone, guys. It's extremely impressive to me. Yes, you know, probably the cameras probably will turn some of you guys off not having a telephoto or something like that. But I was really impressed. Oxygen OS is pretty good now. The hardware is really good. The screen's really good. The not the GPU, but the CPU is pretty good. You get a charger in the box. What's not to like about this phone? It's really impressive at this price. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.